In this video, we're going to be using Crystal Reports 2011 to access data which is in a HANA database. So let's go and launch Crystal Reports. I'm going to go to Start, All Programs, Crystal Reports 2011. You'll notice that there are two different versions, but we're using the Crystal Reports 2011. So this video is actually going to consist of three parts. The first part is creating a crystal report of a HANA table. Then I'll create a crystal report on an analytic view which is based on a HANA table. And lastly, we'll access some stored procedures in the third video. So let's firstly build that report using HANA tables. So to do this, we can select the report wizard on the front screen to start a new report. Now we can use obviously our available connections, but what we're going to do is create a new connection. And again, just for you to know, there are different ways in which Crystal Reports can access HANA, whether it's JDBC, ODBC, and we're going to use in this part ODBC. Of course, we can also access HANA data in other ways, so you could go indirectly for a web service, and also you can access the data within a universe, and of course that will be covered in a different video. So let's select ODBC, and from the drop down list we're going to choose this connection which is HANA x86. Again, this is just a straightforward simple HANA ODBC connection. So then I'll click on next, and what we need to do here is enter the user ID of the person who's going to access the system. So for us, this user is going to be called system, and the password is welcome1. We then click on finish. So the tables we're going to access are from the STS schema, and we're going to access a few different tables. The first one we're going to access is the DIM customer table. So if I scroll down, you can see we've got our list of tables here. Now just to confirm, you can see that the different types of objects that we can import, you can see here that we can access any stored procedures that we've created, any views that we've created, and of course we want to access specific tables. So the first table I'm going to select is my DIM customer table by selecting the table and then clicking on next. The next table I'm going to access is the fact customer order table, and again I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to click, so we've got both the DIM customer table and the fact customer order table, and then I'll select next. Now automatically, because there's a join between the two tables which exists based on a primary key and foreign key relationship, we can see that the join has automatically been selected. However, we know that this join is a left outer join, so to manipulate the join type, we double click on the join, and I'm going to change the join type to become a left outer join, and then I will click on OK and then next. Now in the report we're going to add a couple of columns. So we're going to add the country name, and we're also going to add from the fact table, we're going to add the net sales and cost fields. So I'm going to double click on net sales and also select cost. So the next thing we're presented with after we click on next, after selecting those columns, is we're presenting with the grouping window. So you don't have to group your data, but this essentially will submit a group by clause on your data. So we're going to group by country name, and we're going to select it by clicking on the report field and clicking group by. And of course, just for you to know, you can view the data below as well, so you can select data from an existing table even though you've not selected it as a report field. Remember, a report field is a field that will be displayed on the report, but we can still access fields which are in the actual tables. And we're going to select the group, the country name, to be displayed in descending order. Note, when I select the country, I can also select browse data, so I can see a distinct list of countries, as in this case the field is country, and it's a distinct list. Then we click on next. So now we've got a default list of summarized fields, and again Crystal Reports has quickly worked out that these fields are integers, So that's why it's saying that these fields will be our summary fields. So again, I'm going to leave these two fields selected as our summary fields, and we can just click on next to select these by default. Now on the group sorting page, we can see that we can determine which group will be sorted. So for example, I might want to sort on country name, but I might only want to select a specific range of net sales values. So I'm going to say, well, I actually only want the top 5 groups of country name based on our net sales. So again, I can either choose net sales or I could choose that other measure, which was cost. But I'm going to leave that selected as net sales. The last step when I click on next is to select the chart type. So we're going to choose and these are just default chart types. Obviously, once you've finished with the standard report creation wizard, you can build more elaborate charts. But I'm going to select the pie chart as my chart type, and I'm going to leave it to display sum of net sales per country name on change of country name, and then we're going to show the summary, which is net sales. And then we'll click on finish. Now there's a small problem with this report in that this report is not showing the net sales and cost summaries per country. As you can see here, it's showing a list of countries repeated, but what we actually want to see is the summary of those countries. So what I'm going to show you now is how to do that little bit of manipulation within Crystal Reports. The way we can do that is as follows. We go to database and we say we select show SQL. And what you can see there is that there is an order by clause, which is great, but in this SQL statement there's no group by clause. And of course what we need to do is group by the country so we can receive those summaries. So we want to make some changes to this report. So we can do that by going to the design mode of this report. So what you'll see is that we have 2 tabs underneath the report, which I've called report number 2. You have the design tab and you have the preview tab. So let's go to the design tab. Now if I scroll down, what we want to do firstly, we just want to make a bit of room. So I'm going to move this actual costs over to the right hand side, and I can do that by selecting this tab here, and I'm just going to add a bit of space by moving it, let's say, to here. There we go. So we've added a little bit of space down below here. The next thing I want to do is just clean up these columns. So I'm going to lasso all of the columns together like this. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say select size, and I'm going to say select same width. Just to space some of the objects out. Now to deal with this group header, remember the group header has no summary. It just had a list of countries. What we can do is actually hide that. So I'm going to right click on my group header and I'm going to choose hide, which is the second option. We want to hide that because again there was no group summarization. So this way you can see it's been hidden because of the diagonal lines across that specific column. Now while we're at it, we may as well hide the details as well by the same method. We right click on the details and we select hide. So when we've done that, we can now go back to preview mode, and you should see that the data looks slightly different if I click up here somewhere. Now the key thing you're thinking is that, but now we've grouped the data. Well, we actually haven't grouped the data yet, because we can still see we're actually bringing back 38,000 records from the database. If we're just grouping on a series of countries, there shouldn't be 38,000 records. So we want to perform the grouping on the database server side. So to do that, we go to database and we select perform grouping on server, which will of course then send the group by statement to the server. And when we do that, we can see that we return 16 rows. To verify that, we can go back to the database menu and click on show SQL. And of course, what we'll see now is that we not only have the order by statement, but we also have the group by statement as well. So that's a very simple introduction into how we can use the Crystal Reports wizard, standard report wizard, to quickly create a Crystal report that connects to tables which is stored in your HANA database.